Hi, shalom friends. There are certain questions which are not very hard to answer. It's very clear. Someone asks you directions. If you happen to know how to get there, you could give clear, explicit directions. Easy answer. And then there are questions that need a slightly more elaborate answer, and it doesn't always go over well. For example, if you have a teenager and you're trying to explain to him the need of a curfew, you might be quite logical in what you're presenting, but not necessarily will it be understood. But the most intriguing type of a question is a question that even after you give a logical and clear answer, the question still remains. And what I'm thinking about is that question, where is God? And the answer is not difficult. He is everywhere. Or more accurately, there is nothing of existence where he is not. But after having said that, we still ask, so where is he? So where is he? For this, we could use a Hasidic adage, and that is, God is where he is allowed in. What does that mean? Well, if you allow God in your heart, you will experience him. If you allow God to be in your mind, you will understand something of his greatness. If he's welcomed in your home, you will see him in your home. If he's invited in your business, you will see him in your business. On the other hand, if you disinvite and you say in a mental and emotional way, I don't want God to interact with me, so then you might even experience a bona fide miracle, and the best that you would come up with is a shrug of the shoulders, I guess I was lucky. So God is here, but it's a matter of perspective. Actually, I'd like to put a caveat to this. There is one place where God is not, and that is where he chooses not to be. And the Talmud actually tells us of such a place. God hates the arrogant. When a person is figuratively full of himself, there is no room for God. In order to feel the presence of God, you have to make a space. You have to, in a sense, minimize your ego to allow to apprehend the truth. There's a wonderful, charming story of the great Rabbi Ahron Yeshua Heschel of Apta, known as the Ohev Yisrael. He was a very popular and a holy tzaddik, and he had many admirers, and as the story goes, he once let it be known that he was going to visit a city where he had thousands of his admirers. Immediately, each one of the Hasidim, his students and disciples, wanted the honor, and it became understood that they have to pick people that have houses that are large enough and suitable enough. And eventually it came to the two richest Hasidim of this city. Both of them were very similar in the sense of the size of the home. Both were popular, both were generous, both were Hasidim, both were religious. And they decided that they would let the Rebbe make the decision. When the Rebbe was told about these two equally receptive places, to everyone's surprise, he chose Beryl. Now, why would he choose one over the other? Especially when the one that he did not go to had a better reputation. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me tell you. There was a Ruvain and a Beryl, both of these Hasidim. Ruvain was not only a businessman, but a bit of a scholar, and his actions were impeccable. He prayed, he studied, he smiled, he gave charity, his house was run on the highest levels of kosher, and so on and so forth. Now, if with all of those great qualities, could there be anything missing? And the answer is yes. He knew of his great qualities, so though he did not lord himself over others, his whole demeanor and his whole way of interacting with others sort of conveyed the fact that I am holier than you. Whereas Beryl was a good-natured chassid, but it was rumored that he drank too much. There was another rumor that he played cards occasionally, and there was another rumor that sometimes when he was on a business trip, he wasn't that careful with kosher. And consequently, Beryl, knowing of his deficiencies, had a different attitude about him. When he came to the synagogue or he interacted or rubbed shoulders with his fellow Hasidim, it was always more to the effect like, how fortunate I am that they tolerate me. Said the Rabbi, the first one, Ruvain, even if it's true that he has all of those wonderful qualities, that means his house is filled with holiness. And with a wry statement, he said, perhaps the house is so filled with holiness that there's no room for the Holy One, blessed be He. And if the Holy One, blessed be He, will not come to a house that's filled with Ruvain's holiness, I don't think I should go there either. On the other hand, the house of Beryl has a lot of empty space. There's a lot of space where the Almighty One, the Holy One, blessed be He, can rest. Well, if the Holy One, blessed be He, finds a place in Beryl's house, I think I could do the same. Pretty sharp, actually. The moral of the story is not that we should do sin, God forbid. The moral of the story is rather simple, that God prefers a sinner who knows that he's a sinner than a tzaddik who knows that he's righteous. You see, because there's always room to improve by all. We are getting very close to the festival of Shavuot, of the giving of the Torah. The Midrash and the Talmud spends quite a significant amount of space to describe the Mount Sinai. And one of the beautiful lessons, it says, and I shall leave you with this lesson, that Mount Sinai is not the loftiest mountain. It's not the tallest mountain, nor is it the most impressive mountain. So why did God choose it to give the Torah? And the answer given is because Mount Sinai knew of what it did not have and felt unworthy of vying for the honor. And it was that sense of truthfulness that Mount Sinai portrayed that was so endearing to the Almighty. Shalom.